So in Afghanistan in 2014, the U.S. is drawing down to a force of about 9,800 troops there, plus about 2,000 or so from NATO countries. However, this is happening at the same time as there are about 10 or so headquarters elements from the Army deployed all over the world. And they're also deploying about 3,000 soldiers to Western Africa, to Liberia, to help the Ebola efforts there. And they're adding a bit more to the European rotational presence, specifically in Eastern Europe, to reassure allies there who are concerned about Russia. And at the same time, the so-called rebalance of the Asia-Pacific is continuing. It's fallen out of the news a bit, but it is still happening. The Army's sending more soldiers there for outreach programs and training programs. The Navy's basing more of its ships there, and the Air Force is sending its latest aircraft. These deployments and redeployments are all happening within a pretty interesting budget context. The FY15 budget includes a whole lot of requests for budget savings that the Pentagon has asked for, and each of the Congressional Defense Committees have gone about it in a relatively different way for what they'll give or not give to the Pentagon. And when these get solved, when the FY15 budget is passed, we'll have a better idea of where some of the programs for the different services are falling and what cuts will happen and what adds will happen. In FY15, some of the major programs for the different services include an Army effort to redistribute its aircraft. Specifically, one of the more interesting ones will be moving all of the Apache attack helicopters out of the National Guard and into the active force, if Congress allows them to do this. And the Army will also seek to down-select to one contractor in two of its major programs, the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle and the Armored Multi-Purpose Vehicle. For the Air Force in FY15, they're sort of chugging along with most of their main efforts that they've had for the last few years. This includes a long-range strike bomber, the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, the new aerial refueling tanker, and one of the more interesting things in FY15 is money being put aside for a new engine technology development. For the U.S. Navy, they're looking to lay up about half of their Ticonderoga cruiser fleet. They're also looking to modernize those while they're being laid up, and whether Congress lets them do this or not will be in question. They're trying to cap their LCS program as it currently is at 32 ships, and then perhaps change this in the future to a different sort of ship, or maybe modernize the current design. And they're considering, or they've floated the idea of at least, retiring early one of their aircraft carriers, but this will be up to Congress whether they're allowed to do it or not. In Latin America, most of the militaries there are being not repurposed, but a lot of the equipment programs are focusing more on internal security, as those militaries need to be bolstering law enforcement down there. A notable exception to this, though, is Brazil, which in October signed a major contract to buy 36 Gripen fighter aircraft, and this has been something that's long been in the pipeline. Further north in Canada, the Canadian forces have begun operations against the Islamic State in Iraq, and they're still in the midst of deciding whether or not they're going to buy 65 Joint Strike Fighters or if they're going to use a different aircraft for this requirement.